Welcome, everybody, to our session today on tips and tricks to improve design communication. My name is Michael LaFleche. I'm an engineer here at Onshape, and we have a great panel of guests and my fellow colleague, Katie, here, who runs our technical training team.
Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Huffman. I am the technical training manager here at Onshape. Me and my team work on the Onshape Learning Center and the Onshape certification program. And we also have a guest here with us to help us explain these design communication tools inside of Onshape, Evan Reese from Oval.
Hey, I'm Evan. I am an industrial designer by background, but I'm also a co-founder of Oval, a device development agency that does a lot of electronics, industrial design, firmware, software, a whole lot of things.
Thanks for joining us, Evan. It's going to be a fun time, I think. So we're going to hear a little bit from Evan today on how Oval and Evan uses Onshape and implements it within their organization. We'll also talk about some of the design communication tools that are out there in today's world, whether it be Post-it notes or whatever it might be. We'll also talk about some of the more modern communication tools that we use in other applications. And we'll talk then about Onshape's design communication tools that kind of fit in with that whole concept of how we communicate and chat with each other. Of course, we'll do a live demonstration of this using the Onshape platform, and we'll sign in and sign out as various users to kind of simulate the day in a life of a team using the system. And Evan's going to chime in with, how he uses some of these tools as well. And of course, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. Definitely don't be shy. Use that moderator Q&A panel in the platform, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So Evan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and what you do?
Yeah, so at Oval, we make, as we're seeing on the slide here, high-end products that are high-tech. So that's usually things that involve some element of software, some element of like PCB design and circuit boards, but they are also like a very high-end industrial design with a good fit and finish. And from the very beginning, we've been focused on being a highly collaborative and integrated team of experts. So I'm an industrial designer, and my two co-founders are mechanical and electrical engineers, respectively. Since then, we've added firmware, software, strategy, and other services like that, all as full-time salaried staff here co-located in Nashville, Tennessee. So we've used Onshape since the beginning. It's coming up on 6 years now. So before that, I was in SolidWorks, but I really love working in Onshape, and it's kind of become a hobby for me as well as my professional career. So I've spent a lot of time playing with all the tools and digging into like the nitty-gritty of what's possible with it. And I love it, especially with our focus as a firm on deep collaboration and really tightly integrated, like multidisciplinary teams. Onshape's a perfect tool for that.
So what I wanted to do today is kind of start talking about, some of the design communication tools that we come to know and love or despise, depends on your point of view here, right? But, a lot of these tools that we rely on every day were kind of designed for single user productivity, right? If you think about, how files work and how you have to email them or how you might make comments on things. We talk about redlining. It all comes from taking a print out and getting the Sharpie out and marking things up. The first thing that I think of when I think of like tasks and organizing my day, it might be showing my age, but, I think of Post-it notes, kind of, stuck to my monitor, how many companies I've visited where I've seen the same thing, right? So, these things are, to be fair, yesterday's tools, right? There are Post-it notes now. You can use them on your desktop, on your computer now digitally, and they work great. But those were kind of yesterday's tools, right? But what does that mean in today's world, Katie?
Yeah, in today's world, as Evan was pointing out, teams are collaborating to really create designs and get products made. Right. And these teams don't always reside, in the same offices, in the same cities. or maybe even the same country. So it's really important that they have tools that they can communicate effectively and easily with. And we see these kind of tools all the time in other areas of the business. And these cloud native tools have been around for a while. Things like Google Applications, where you can collaborate with spreadsheets and slides and documents, or something like Slack, which is real-time communication, like a chat-like type tool, or you can even use APIs to connect to other business systems to be alerted of events. Or Jira, a project management tool, completely cloud native. When a task updates, all the people that are involved in that project are notified instantly. And we really think your CAD should require or should allow you to do the same type of thing, communicating easily, seamlessly, right inside, alongside your design data.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, Katie, obviously, but there's lots of design communication tools that we're going to be showing you today. It's going to be hard to show every single one of them. We're going to try to kind of tell it in a flow that will be in a fictitious company with several users, but we'll definitely talk about sharing and how you share data securely with one another. We'll talk about how you can create comments digitally right inside of an Onshape document, and even tasks, assigning work, hyperlinks, and things like that. Release management is a critical tool that's part of our professional and enterprise plans for keeping track of final production jobs. All of these tools that you're going to see today also work on mobile, right? So we'll talk about that. And of course, to wrap things up, we're going to be able to get great, rich business information, using some of the dashboards, and that's part of our enterprise plan. So what we should do is actually just jump right in to the session here. And Katie, I think you're going to play Debbie Designer first, right?
Yeah, as Mike mentioned, we're going to kind of simulate a team collaborating together and show all these different communication tools that they can utilize right inside of Onshape. So I'm going to start with this engineer, Debbie Designer, and she might come into her office, on Monday morning and take a look at what's happened in the past week on the designs that she has access to. So the first page here is this activity feed, where she can come in here and scroll through and see what changes or what actions have happened on the design data that she has access to. She can even use the filter over here and really drill, no pun intended there, into projects that she's really interested in, right? Another thing that she might do on her Monday morning is come into the action items and see if there's any tasks waiting for her. And she can see there are, right? There's Fran, field engineer, who has given her a task, and she can open this up right on this page. And we can get a description of what needs to be done. The handle is not long enough is what we're seeing here. We can see this was categorized as a special task, custom task actually, called an ECR here in this task workflow. And we can actually see it's a high priority due today. And Debbie can actually view more information by clicking View Task. And in here, again, we get some of the same information seen on that first page, but we also can see that Fran was kind enough to link the actual document that we need to go take a look at. And so, Debbie wants to let Fran know that she's about to get started on this. And again, another way to communicate is right within the task ticket. Debbie came in here and copied or wrote in here, reviewing design. So Fran knows she's starting. So you can go ahead and save this and click right into the document that we need to take a look at, right? And it actually was referenced the actual release version of the last revision of this subassembly. And so what Debbie's going to decide to do is, instead of making changes here on this main branch, she's going to utilize branching to make the changes on another branch and then merge it back into main once it's to get it finally approved. So she'll right click on here and branch to create a new workspace. And we'll see, we can name the workspace. We can, maybe an ECR number would be appropriate here. For our purposes today, we'll just leave it at the default B1. And we'll go ahead and have Debbie create the new branch where she can then, make these design changes too. Now, I know, Evan, you guys use branching and merging in this feature a lot over at Oval. Can you talk to how you guys use this?
Yeah, we actually do use it a lot. I think it's one of the superpowers of Onshape, this ability to branch and merge. It's a lot more powerful than like Save As in SolidWorks or something like that. So the way that we use it is typically like for one of two reasons. Either you're going to try something risky that like might break the model, or a design direction you're not exactly sure about. And if you don't like it, you just scrap it and no harm done. Or if you do like it, you can get it back in. Or the other reason is because Onshape is so collaborative, sometimes it is possible to step on each other's toes a little bit. So for example, if I'm in a part studio and I hide a part to look inside of an assembly of parts or something, that will also hide it for another user, which could be a little confusing. So I'll just branch for maybe 20 minutes or something, and then merge it back in when I'm done. So those are the two reasons that I would usually use it. It can kind of feel daunting, and I know that it has for some people on our team as well. So I did make a video about at least how I think about branching and merging to make it a little easier to understand, so that our team can do that. And I posted that to YouTube. So if you search OVYL, that's Oval, in YouTube, you'll probably find our channel and can watch it if you want.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, Evan. I know Evan has some really great videos out there, so you guys should check it out. We're going to use branching in this kind of release management process. So you can see there's several applications here to use these different tool sets. Now, Debbie's getting ready to change this. She's going to go ahead. So she sees the change reflected in the subassembly in real time. So we're going to just change this reference real fast to the workspace. And we'll put it back here when we're ready to release. And then we'll just right click to switch to the part studio, where we can actually change that dimension that is controlling the handle length. And we can actually see this has been designed really thoroughly. We have a variable controlling this. But Debbie's thinking to herself, before I go ahead and make this change, let me just run this by my manager. So she's going to go ahead and comment here. And the first thing she might do is actually just tag the variable that we'll be changing, controlling the length, in the comment. So it's very obvious to see what we're looking at here in this part studio. The next thing she might do is want to tag her manager. So we'll go ahead and tag Mike Manager in this comment so that he's actually alerted of this change, and she's giving him some description here of what she might do. Or actually make this a task for Mike. So it actually goes on his action items dashboard to complete as well. And then she's looking and she's thinking there's one more thing we probably can do to make this really visually easy to understand, is we'll go ahead and do a markup and tag this in the comment as well. So the markup actually will take a screenshot of what that graphics area looks like. And we can use these tools here to kind of just draw right over it. So maybe she points out the handle, maybe she comes in and actually draws a line here to indicate where that length will be updated. You can see all the tools here on the markup dialog. And she can even come in here and add in text. And once we accept this, it's going to actually store as an image right within the comment thread. And when she clicks assign, we'll see everything right there. So we see the tag, we see the image, and we see that Mike has been, tagged as well as an individual in the comment.
Yeah, just got a notification. Evan, do you have interesting methods that you have for kind of labeling features and working on things that maybe you could share a few minutes on that?
Yeah, again, because we are placing such a high priority at Oval on our team's ability to collaborate and to jump in and out of projects as needed, we really make extra effort, especially on a really detailed kind of final model, to document what the model is doing. So we actually use commenting in Onshape a little bit differently than is being shown in the demo. The demo, they're talking about the design itself, and we use comments to actually talk about the model structure. So if you have written software, it's like commenting your code. So we can use comments to explain if we have a master sketch that has a lot going on but controls the whole model. We might use a annotated comment with markup to point at different elements and say what they control downstream. Or sometimes I'll even record an entire video tour of the model structure for the entire document, and using a tool like Loom, or you could post an unlisted YouTube video and you can drop that as a URL in a comment. So you can kind of talk about the architecture of the model, which is maybe even more important for someone jumping into the model than it is for them to actually understand the design, because you can go and look at the model to somewhat understand the design, but the model structure is a little more hidden from view. And so we're big on finding a way to leave a paper trail for that, essentially. Other things that we use a lot are just the way that we name features. I mean, you try to give it a sensible name, but you may not know that you can use up to 256 characters for a feature name. You won't be able to see it all, but if you mouse over it, you'll see it. So I like to, if it's a certain situation and I'm using a feature and it's not clear why that feature might be there, I might use a whole paragraph of text to say like, this feature is here so that the next feature doesn't fail because it was failing or something like that. And that's a valid feature name. And that actually gives a lot more information to someone that's new to the model as to why that's there and what they can change without breaking anything.
Yeah, it totally makes it stand out and, helps you avoid error, and that's our primary job, right? And we're doing design work. We want to do it quickly and accurately. So thanks for sharing that, Evan. Here's the notification I got on my phone here. I have my phone here opened up on the screen so we can see, what the heck is going on here, in this experience, right? It's actually my phone. So, if you're looking at the video here, that's it. That's my real phone. So you see the comment right here, and I'm going to interact with it as Mike, the manager, signed in on the phone. And it will bring me right to that comment, right from the live notification that I got. It's really pretty cool. And I want to just make a quick reply to that comment. And I'm on a phone here, so I can just talk to it. Debbie, great idea. I really wanted to make some other changes to the air filter on this anyway. Let's kill two birds with one stone. Not that I'm into killing birds. Okay. All right, so there we are. And it's right there. And of course, Debbie sees that straight away, right inside.
Debbie sees it right away, real time. This is the advantage of a cloud native tool. The other thing that happened in real time is as Mike went into the document, right, Debbie is notified here at the top of his social queue. And so they actually both know that they're in the same document at the same time, which can really help them collaborate on the design. So Debbie's gotten the okay to go ahead and change that dimension. So let's do it. Let's change this to 315, right? And we may want to just double check that in the subassembly as well. You can actually see that it updated there on both screens at the same time. Another really cool thing that Onshape can do because of the cloud nativeness of it, right? We'll go ahead and just check the subassembly to make sure everything looks good there too. We can see everything got a little bit longer. And then again, I'm going to go back to my branches and merges, or my version and document history here, and merge B1 into main. In our company structure, we're deciding to really keep all the releases, on the same main branch. So I'll activate main and just merge these changes right into here.
Nice.
Perfect. And you can see that updated again in real time. The next thing we're going to want to do now that it's been changed is we're going to want to formally release this. And release management is another place where you can really take advantage of communication tools, right? So I'm going to go ahead here and just make Debbie big for a second. Bear with me here, the screen.
There we are.
And I will just right click on the assembly and release it. And so it's gathering up, the things that are different in this subassembly, and it knows that we only changed one part. So we only should be up-revving the handle and then the handle subassembly as well with that part change. We can come in here and give this release a name. Again, we're just going to use the part number of the handle sub that we're up-revving. And we can also come in here and add release notes. This is another place where we can communicate right within the release management dialog. And you'll see these release notes go into the comment thread of this release and can be looked at later. And then the next thing we need to do to actually submit this is set an approver. So again, Mike is going to do the formal approving here. So I'll just add him as the approver, and let's loop Fran in. Fran was the original person that brought this to our attention with that task out in the field there. And we'll go ahead and submit this for release.
That's great. Yeah. And, Mike was out at Starbucks on his phone getting coffee there, and now he's back in the office. So let's come over here. I'll just leave my phone app and turn that off. And now I'm back here as Mike, the manager in the browser on my Mac. So in this particular case, I want to navigate to my action items section here. And I actually have it ready to go here. And let's see, oldest first. There we are. So right there, I can see that same comment. And I can even see right there, Fran has already replied to the comment in that particular release package. And let's just go ahead and view the release. I think it looks pretty good, because I've seen it before, but I can actually, click into here. That would hyperlink me right into that version of the document. I can see that I can add a comment right here. The entire other history is right here as well. And I think it's ready to go. So I'm just going to release it. So that's looking pretty good to me. And of course I could go, to the actual assembly, as well. We'll just go ahead and open up the drill here. I can see that the action is going to be all set here. There's the ECO Rev C right there for me. We'll just go ahead and open up the top level assembly here and notice what happened, right? If we look at this, we can see that the handle has a notification message. Right. So we need to just go ahead and update that to use the latest revision, of that particular design. So just get that Rev B to C. Couldn't be easier than that. And now I can get to that other thing where I wanted to replace that air filter. There was a filter that I have in here that's a little bit that's been giving me a little bit of heartburn. If I hide this and just kind of zoom in on that, there's this kind of spongy, kind of gray air filter here. And this filter, it costs a lot. It doesn't perform well in the cold. So what I wanted to do is replace it with a new, more cost-effective one. So in my comments here, and I've just kind of pre-done this while we were waiting for the thing to begin here, we have, a comment here. And as Evan mentioned, you can put hyperlinks right in to your comments. Onshape links can even be placed in there. Like if you wanted to point to a link to an Onshape document, of course you can do that, right? And it even puts a little nice symbol next to it. We have the label right here to the carburetor. We can actually go right to the carburetor, assembly there. I could click right into that replacement air filter right from that comment and kind of take a peek at this. That's the new cooler air filter, right? So pretty cool that we can do that straight away. Let's just do, actually, I don't want to do that yet. I just want to hide this for now. And I want to get a little bit, before I make this big change, I want to just, collaborate with Debbie just a little bit to talk about, the reason why I want to change it, right? So let's do that.
Yeah, right. That you asked Debbie, what does she think about, changing this air filter in the comment thread. And Debbie can see this on her side of the screen as well. And she might reply, hey, we may want to check where used real fast just to make sure, this air filter isn't used anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And so Mike can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So yeah, I can, pick any part. There's a where used function right there. I see that it's used just in the drill that we're using now. I also have another one that I was working on, but that's it. So really, this is a pretty safe change to make. It's not going to affect hundreds of products or anything like that. So it's really easy to see that. So I think I should just go ahead and reply to that, right? Or actually just replace it, I think. So let's
I think Debbie's all in the clear. Let's go ahead and replace it.
All right, let's do it. All right, looks like we have the current air filter. I'm going to search somewhere in my company for that. I don't know where it is. I just know the name of it, right? So I'm just going to do a search for my insert right here. And I have the air filter that I can search for. And there's the blue air filter. I'll replace it with that one, just like that. Pretty good. Looks like that updated pretty nice. We'll turn on our air filter. And there actually was an exploded view in here. Everything looks good there. So yeah, I think this was something I wanted to get off my back, replacing that air filter. So it was good that Fran had brought up the other change as well. So what I want to do is, share this information with Pat in purchasing. So Pat is a light user in my enterprise that I've set up, and I'm going to add a comment to the new air filter. Here we are. Pretty easy to add new users, right, to a document. Just add the comment just like that. And I want to, just order this for the drill, right? So let me just type in a quick comment. We've added the air filter. Of course, we could add markups and photos and things like that. And actually, I have a really nice, I want to really make it really easy to understand when Pat purchasing, looks at this. So I'm going to create a section view, and I'm going to start right here, just kind of plow right in, to about that center point. And we added recently this ability to, just exclude certain portions of that. So it's kind of a nice looking section view that we're looking at. And I'll actually take a screenshot, of it, point it out. So all the tools work, in the markup tool as well. And I'll just add Pat to that. And Pat, here's Pat's screen right over here. And, let me see if I should go full or halfway here. Yeah, we'll do something like this. We'll hide that. That way we can both see the screen. And, here's Pat's activity feed, and Pat can, see what's been going on in here. And Pat would obviously be getting an email, with all this information here as well. Here's the latest email to Pat purchasing, ordering these new air filters, right? And Pat can just go ahead and open that document as soon as she sees that email. And guess what happens? We get all that right here. And actually, let me make this bigger. And I think, Katie, you're going to play the role of Pat here, right?
Yeah, I'm going to play two roles here. I'm going to play Pat here too. And like you said, she's a light user in the enterprise. She's not in CAD all the time. She's not an engineer. She's not a designer. And so for, light users, we have this really easy view-only toolbar to make it easy for those people to navigate, the Onshape interface. If she wanted to rotate and she's not really familiar with the mouse controls, she can use the buttons here on the view-only toolbar. And she's looking here at, Mike's markup, and we can click on it to make it full screen and make it larger. And she sees the section view, and she sees the, the new air filter in there that she needs to get on the order list. But she's having a little bit of a difficult time understanding it here in the graphics area. So another really neat tool is we can use follow mode, and even light users can use this. And we can actually see as Pat that both Debbie and Mike are still in this document. And so really easy for a light user, the follow mode is right here on the view only toolbar, and we can just select Mike to follow, right? And now Pat is following Mike. So if we split the screens here again, anything that Mike does, Pat's seeing. If Mike makes a selection, Pat's going to see that on her side of the screen. So really easy, then for her to understand where this air filter is, what she has to purchase, even if she's not, an experienced CAD user. Right? And there's some other tools on here too I want to point out. There's a bill of materials where she can come in here and open this up. And let's flip the template here to the purchasing one. And again, we can see that there's already a property in here defaulting to that cost for the new air filter. Again, Mike showed the exploded view earlier. That's another option here, right on the view only toolbar. Again, another way to really communicate how this assembly is put together. Again, a lot of these, communication tools right inside the design available for the right people who have access to the data.
Right. And this whole time, we've had the, I'm going to go in here as Mike, the manager again. We have interesting information that helps us make better business decisions at our engineering department, right? So in the enterprise plan, you get analytics that you can keep track of. So, as the project is going on, as the drill project is going on, you can see we spent 28 hours on the project. There's 9 documents that make it up. You can see our most active documents, the release status, everything's, up to date. So that's good to see. You can see project activity over time, where people are opening your design and making sure your IP isn't leaking anywhere, right? You're going to know that, these places are places where I've shared this information, right? So all of this information is there for your security and as well as, making better business decisions at your company. Once again, kind of like, other departments in your company have dashboards and analytics, right? Your manufacturing department has, Kanban boards. Your sales team uses Salesforce with a sales funnel. You can see how many calls people are making, right? All of these departments have had this type of stuff, and the engineering teams just, have kind of haven't had that until recently with Onshape. So, this is really, kind of the demonstration that we wanted to show you here today. You were sharing some stuff with us, Evan, as well, about how you've set up your company and teach people. You mentioned how you put Loom videos in. Were there any other things that you do at your company to kind of like help, promote design communication?
Yeah, we do a number of things. I would say when we're kicking off or when we're collaborating on a model, we kind of share a common language about like what level the model is, and internally to us, we all know that a level 1 model means that it can be kind of messy. It's like your personal space. You're just trying things out. You're just trying to figure out what you're even building in the first place. And so we don't always follow best practices for that. But our whole team knows that if we're in a level 3 model, that like parts should have part numbers and materials assigned, and like good practices should be used, and a good paper trail should be in place. And when we're kicking off one of those development phases, we'll all sit down together and talk through the structure of the model, again, so that people are changing things where they need to be changed, or at least where it's optimal to change them, instead of like editing something downstream to kind of override an upstream input or something like that. We try to keep the feature list shorter that way, and give each user an ability at the top of the whole model to change any of the critical elements. So for those models, they're built really robustly. You can update the nominal wall and the sizes of parts and all of that, and it should just rebuild fine. And that's, with as many as 4 people or whatever working on the same model. So I actually think that concept of thinking about it in levels and communicating that to your team has been really helpful for us. I'm working on, getting all my thoughts together and making a more full form video on that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just planning the model together and making sure people actually understand the structure of it. Because there are 1,000 ways to do any one thing. So just telling everyone and agreeing on which one you're using is important. And then beyond that, I'm just excited for ongoing expansion to Onshape and additional collaborative ability, like the forthcoming PCB studio. I'm really pumped about. Because we design circuit boards here in Altium, and so to be able to have those things coupled together is going to be pretty great. But yeah, I think that's the main thing: is leave a trail. It should pass the bus test. If you get hit by a bus, your team should be able to pick it up.
I like that. I'll have to use that. Pass the bus test. That's awesome.
It's so great, Evan, to have you here and have you, explain how your team is using these tools. I think one of the coolest things is just your team is using these tools in a different way than what we showed. It just shows how flexible and how many different applications you can use these communication tools for.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that the way that we do it is the right way for every organization. It's just the way that works for us and our team size and our team culture and everything. So I think for other companies, it might be closer to what you showed in your demo, or some other third thing that's different than both.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so cool, and I want to thank you for joining us today in the session. We're kind of at the end where we're going to take some questions now. Lindsay, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, we do. So the first one is coming from a teacher that teaches a STEM program for 5th grade students. As professionals, what would be your most valuable piece of advice or something you practice most within the design process or collaboration that you think would be beneficial for students in this age group they can start thinking about in an effort to become better prepared for their future careers as engineers?
Evan, do you want to take that as somebody in industry, and I can?
Yeah, sure. Will you refresh me on what age group we're referencing here?
It is 5th grade students.
Okay.
So 10 to 11 years old.
Yeah, I don't think it's too early for anyone who's starting to learn CAD to just get a good handle on how to make a stable reference. I think that's probably the most important thing. I think when I first started out using any kind of CAD, I was all over the place, and my models were very finicky, and I was referencing unstable elements, and so they would turn bright red all the time and everything. And so I think the sign of a very seasoned CAD developer is A, that their feature list will be quite short because they know how to use the features to their fullest, and B, that they can update the critical elements of the design without breaking anything. So I think learning those two things, I feel like for kids at that age, they probably benefit from some neuroplasticity that help them learn language at a young age and all that. I think they'll pick this stuff up quick too.
Yeah, I agree with you, Evan. I think understanding design intent, especially, when you're starting out, is such a key thing. And that's, I think, what you're really talking about. The difference, I like to use the example, you make a cube and you make all 3 different dimensions, or you tie them into a variable. That very simple example, but I think it shows the difference between an experienced CAD user, and a less experienced one. So.
That's a good point. What else do we have?
Another question that came in is, how configurable are the workflows and revision schemes?
Very. So on the enterprise plan, you have full capability of creating as many workflows as you want to release things, as well as to obsolete things. We didn't get a chance to talk about that today. But yeah, you can create a very in-depth multi-step workflow. I would encourage you though to think first before you start creating crazy workflows. I've been a CAD manager in the past. That's where I've lost all my hair, and pulling it out with PDM systems not updating right, and workflows that you can't untangle. It would behoove you to look at your process, and if you're moving from one PDM system to Onshape, think about your workflows in a different way, because you're evolving into something like Onshape versus, migrating to it. I think I heard somebody, one of our great customers mention that today in another session. So consider newer ways, different ways of working with your workflows, but we can absolutely support multiple workflows for sure.
Yeah, we can.
I don't know if you want to add anything there.
We can support multiple workflows. You can also customize those dialogues that we were showing when you're creating the release candidate with different properties. They're all written in JSON. And I agree with Mike, make sure that you really vet out what the needs are, the business needs of these workflows, and understand those processes. We provide a default one, and that's a really good place to start and see where you might need to customize it to meet your business needs. We also have some new videos in our enterprise admin training. If towards the end of that course, there's a whole lesson on kind of getting started, not necessarily writing the JSON code, but some of the things you might consider to customize workflows. What's next, Lindsay?
So the next question is, what kinds of communication tools are available on mobile devices and tablets?
Yeah. So you have the comments right there, the follow mode, that's available on phones and tablets. But yeah, the comments, you can even upload photos directly from your mobile devices. Like if you're out in the field and you want to take a picture or something, like if Fran was out in the field and she had her iPhone and she wanted to take a picture and upload it right to a document in Onshape, she could do that, right? That's another communication tool at your fingertips. Trying to think if there are any others that come to mind.
I think there's the 2 things that come to mind that are specific to a mobile device would be the, taking a picture, and also the voice dictation thing that you did today in the session. I think you can do section views. Again, you can comment back and forth in the document and get those real-time updates. Another cool thing is if you have it turned on and you have an Apple Watch, they come through there too, just any notifications. The mobile actually has a whole notifications panel
Oh yeah, they have,
that you can, everything goes there. If you're shared into a document, if you have a release pending, things that you need to approve, things like that. I think the mobile is really good for quick things, or if you're not at your computer and you need to quickly share somebody in or quickly look at something, you can do that on the go.
Yeah, actually, on the topic of uploading images, I do this from the iPad. So I'm, again, an industrial designer, so I do a lot of sketching on my iPad, or sketching on paper or whatever, and I use it as an underlay. I'll put it into a sketch and then use that to reference while I'm making my CAD model. So I can just take a picture and put it straight into the Part Studio from the iPad directly, which is kind of handy.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like that you said that. It does work with the Apple Pencil as well. There's some features and functionality you can use the Apple Pencil with. And I'll plug the Learning Center again. We do have a mobile iOS class that really digs into kind of the interface differences. And like I said, the Apple Pencil, things like that you can do on a mobile specifically. Lindsay, anything else?
Okay, so the next question is, someone that is interested in getting certification, would collaboration tools be a part of certification, or what type of things should he focus on to get into the professional exam or the associate?
Well, I'll take this one since me and my team design these exams. So collaboration is a part of the exam. Both exams, there are different levels, but they're structured very similarly. One section of the exam is a modeling section where you're really digging into part studios and assemblies. And then the second half of the test, on both tests, pro and associate, is more of a knowledge-based question test, multiple choice, true, false type questions. And that's where you're going to find questions on sharing and collaboration, where you're going to find questions on data management for the pro, things like that. I would say the big difference between the associate and the pro, the way I like to describe it, the associate's a CAD test, focused on some Onshape key differences like sharing and collaboration in that section, and also multi-part modeling in a part studio and assembly modeling. But the pro is really specific to Onshape. It really covers a lot of the key differences in the Onshape platform that you may not be able to do with other CAD tools.
So another question is, can non-Onshape users use the comment tools on documents that were shared by enterprise users?
So in the enterprise land, you are, you're kind of creating a walled garden, right? And anybody that interacts with you and your IP within an enterprise is, you're in that garden and you're working together and you're a member of that organization, is either a full or a light user. So you would need to be a member of an organization to add comments because you need to be known, and authenticated into the system. On the professional version, you can actually share and comment with people outside of your company. We call it a company. And in that case, you're able to add comments, as a user who's not a member of that company. Even as a view-only user, you would be able to, as long as you have the permission to add comments. This is a comment, just like, you hit the share button and you're able to set the level of permission that's set, and commenting is one of them. So I don't know.
Yeah, you do have to be shared into the document though. So that would require an Onshape account. Some of you might be familiar with something called link sharing that allows you to send an anonymous link to really anybody without them having to create an Onshape account. That's a global permission to set at the enterprise level if you're using enterprise or something that's built into standard or pro. But if you're sharing that link with somebody and they open it and they do not have an Onshape account, there's no way for them to comment. They'll be able to see and look at the different data, rotate. They have the view only toolbar, but you do have to be kind of call it a named user, share it into the document with the comment permission to comment.
Cool.
This next one's for Oval. How long did it take to learn Onshape coming from other CAD systems?
Boy, define learned, I guess. I'm still learning Onshape, but I've spent a lot of time getting good at it. In terms of ability to do decent work, it's pretty quick. My background is SolidWorks. before that, and it was something that I also was pretty into. I just like CAD in general, I guess. But I don't, a month or two, you know, like there's a couple of differences, but once you get the hang of them, I think most, if not all of the differences, I prefer Onshape's implementation. So things like the way mating happens in assemblies is a little bit different. The way that Onshape is kind of has been designed to prioritize a multi-body part studio is a little bit different, even though you can now do that in other packages. They were not built with that in mind. And then the versioning and branching, you know, those things are pretty unique to Onshape. And unless you've got a software background and you've used Git or something, they'll feel foreign, but they're extremely powerful. But in terms of like core modeling functionality, it's pretty quick. It should feel pretty familiar.
Great. I think we're pretty close to time, right?
I think we are too. We have 1 minute. Are there any last minute questions, Lindsay?
Let's do a quick one here. Do the tools you showed today replace eDrawings or other CAD view and markup tools?
Oh yeah, definitely. You don't need eDrawings here. You just, you know, hit the share button and they get an email with a link, just like you saw with the purchasing person, right? That would be the most similar experience, you know, without having to send files. And then if Mike made an update, having to send another file, you know, there's just, you know, but yeah, it totally replaces that.
I think it replaces it and then some. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining our session. Hopefully you learned some really awesome communication tools right inside of Onshape. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take a look at Evan's link down below here at oval.io. You know, he has lots of great videos there, and that's his company. So definitely don't be shy and take a look there. So I want to thank you again, Evan, and thanks again for everybody joining in today.
Thanks for having me.